Greetings and welcome to another spooky edition of Lessons with Odin. I think this will be the last one I have for this month. October is ending and that is very sad. But today I will be showing you how to make this bezel for a Rivoli. This piece is part of my edition of the Spooky Challenge, but I'm not going to reveal the rest of the piece until October 31st when I make the compilation video. Speaking of, this is the absolute last day to get your entries in. So if you are participating in the challenge, please email me a photo of your work at odins.musings@gmail.com. Yeah. So for this project, you will need a 14mm Rivoli, 15 4mm beads. I am using Bicones. I haven't tried this piece with other shapes yet, so trier beware. 25 3mm Bicones. I also recommend if using brand name because of the way the bezel works, and if you use anything else, the loop might be bigger. The loop is made of 3mm Bicones and 4mm Bicones. If you use any off-name one, the beads will probably be a bit larger and it won't fit as nicely. You can try, but just speaking through experience. 5 Dragonscale beads. And a word of warning with these, be careful who you buy them from, because I found that a good chunk of them have a lot of defects. Blocked holes, holes that don't even exist, etc. Do not use a bead reamer in order to get them out because they will break immediately. And, try with a very stiff needle first to unplug the hole, and if you still can't do it, that's when you call it a dud. But don't throw them away. I found they look really, really cool in resin, so you can kind of use the duds for that and such. Size 11 seed beads. And size 15 seed beads. And of course a needle and thread. I would recommend a size 12 for this one, and I don't really want to hear any complaining about the size 12s. But anyway, let's get started. And I forgot to mention, you will also need 5 Super Duo beads. The color on this one really doesn't matter because it's going to be on the back, so if you got like some spare bits that you don't know how to use because you got only a few pieces left, well, that's a good time to use them. Alrighty, so we're going to start off by threading on 1 3mm, 1 size 15, 1 4mm, 1 size 15, like so. And we are going to repeat that until we have 5 sets. And we end up with that, with a size 15 bead in between each bead. Once we have done this, we're going to pass back through each one of these beads to form a loop. We end up with a loop like that, so all we're going to do to anchor it together is tie a knot with the working thread and the tail. Just a regular double knot. Now what I'm going to do is pass to a 4mm bead, crossing through a size 15 to get there. We're also not going to be using the tail, so you can take care of it as you see fit. From this point, what we're going to do is add on 2 15s, 1 size 11, and 2 15s. Then we're going to jump over and pass to the next 4mm bead on the round. so that we end up with a little loop like that. Repeat that step until you have gone the whole way around, making 5 little loops. You end up with something like this. Now to move on to the next row, what we're going to do is pass through the next 2 15s to meet up to the size 11. Now, what we're going to do next is add on 1 size 15, 1 3mm, 1 super duo, 1 3mm, 1 size 15. Okay. Then we're going to jump over to the next size 11 bead. We end up with that. Repeat that all the way around until you have 5 super duos latched on. Then we end up with this freaky star shape. Now what we want to do is move over to the top hole of this next super duo bead. So what we're going to do, I'm starting from an 11, so I go up the 15, 3mm, the bottom hole of the super duo, and then change directions by going through the top hole of the super duo. I am now in position, so what I'm going to do is add 1 3mm bead and move to the top hole of the next super duo over. That'll kind of cinch everything together. This will start forming our backing for the Rivoli. What you want to do is repeat that, add 1 3mm bead, and go to the next super duo until you have all 5 of them done. And you end up with something kind of like that. What you're going to want to do next is slip in your Rivoli, color side down, and then reclose everything up. Now, in order to secure the Rivoli in place, we're going to want to reinforce this round of 3mm and super duo beads 2 or 3 times, just to keep it tight. And that is what everything looks like, all nicely cinched together. The next step is to move up, back up to the size 11 bead here. So from a bottom hole of a super duo, we're going to change direction and go through the top hole here, through the 3mm bead, 1 size 15, and back up to the 11. Now we're going to kind of bridge that gap here. So all we're going to do is add on 2 size 15s, 1 3mm, and 2 size 15s. And then we're going to move to the next size 11 bead on the round. Kind of bridge the gap a bit. Repeat that step until you've gone all the way around, adding on 5 sets total. Alright, now that we've done that, we're going to be adding 2 little fringe sections on each side of the size 11 bead. So to start that off, what I'm going to do is add on 1 4mm bead and 2 size 15 beads. Then I'm going to pass back down through the 4mm bead so that the 2 seed beads are sticking up. Like that. Now we're going to move on to the next side of the next super duo bead, and we're going to do that by traveling through that set of 5 beads that we just added on before. The 2 15s, the 3mm, and the 2 15s. We're going to move across those 5 beads to get there. Like that. Okay, now that we're here, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to add 1 4mm and 2 size 15 beads. Go back down through the 4mm to make another little fringy drop. Like that. Now all we're going to do is just pass through that size 11 bead and do the same thing. Add on one 4mm bead and two size 15s. Make another fringe drop. It's going to look a little crowded next to the size 11 bead, but we'll fix that after we're done with everything. Like that. Now the next step, you're just going to pass through those same 5 beads again, the two 15s, the 3mm, and the two 15s, in order to get to the first side of the size 11 bead. Repeat that all the way around until you have made 10 fringe drops total. Then we end up with this. Now here comes a little bit of the tricky part. What we need to do now is pinch over the sides and fold it over so that we form points and triangles made of 3 4mm beads, if you kind of see what's going on there. Pinching these together, we have a triangle point made out of these 3 beads. So we need to connect the 2 fringe points together. What I'm going to do to start is travel up the nearest 4mm bead, and then up through one of the size 15 beads, then back down the next size 15 bead. It kind of works like the herringbone stitch. If that makes you feel better, I guess. So now I'm going down a size 15 bead. That's where we end up. I'm going to add on one size 11 and travel up the size 15 bead that is across the large gap. So we kind of close them together. Like that. We're going to go down the next size 15 bead. Going to add one more size 11 bead and go up the size 15 bead that we haven't touched yet. Like that. So we're forming a little bit of a box for our dragon scale to sit in. Alright, you're going to want to also reinforce this round to make sure that everything kind of stays together and cinches together. Just go back down the next size 15 bead, go through the size 11, go up the next size 15, go down the next one over, back through the size 11 on the opposite side, and finally back up the next size 15. So now our little border is nicely pinched together. We're going to add on one Dragonscale bead and then go back down the next size 15. So that it kind of sticks up like that. Going to travel through the size 11 and up the size 15. Okay, then we're going to thread through the whole of the Dragonscale bead, and then go back down the next size 15 bead over. And go down the next size 15 over. This will spread the Dragonscale bead in between the two pairs of size 15s. To go to the next route, finish by going through the size 11, going up once more through the size 15 bead, going back down the next size 15 bead, then down the 4mm. From here you move on through the next size 11 bead and back up through the 4mm beads to repeat the segment. Repeat all those steps, pinching 2 drops together until you have completed the round and added 5 points. Taking care that you are going over a 4mm bead instead of a size 11 bead. And this is what you end up with all 5 points completed. Now, if you want to hang this up onto something or put it on a bale, what I've done is I have moved over to the crystal set that is behind a point. You'll want it behind a point because it's not going to lay flat as a star if you put it anywhere else, like in between points, what have you. So I'm over here. All I'm going to do is add a seed bead bridge and move over to the other one on the other side. So I've added 12 seed beads, and I'm just going to move, well, 10 now because 2 of them fell off. I am going to pass through the 3mm bead across the way. And I end up with a little loop like that. Now, in order to reinforce it, all I'm going to do is from this 3mm bead, pass back through the Super Duo, and the next 3mm bead over, and from there I can go back around the seed beads once more. Once you've reinforced it how you like, you are free to end your threads. And you have a finished star piece. And I think that'll do it for this edition of Lessons with Odin. I hope you will join me on October 31st when I reveal my contribution to the Spooky Challenge. And if you make one of these, feel free to share photos with me on Facebook or wherever social media delightful adventures you feel like sharing. But anyway, since this year is starting to come to a close already, let me know what kind of tutorials and such you guys want to see from me, and I will see what I can do. But that's it for now, and of course, if there is anything that I need to be trying out right now, feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I will see you next time.